All worlds begin with Demon Slayer. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 826 Mission. If you want to give this Kagun a name, then Deo is obviously the most suitable. As soon as Deo appeared, Bai Yu immediately let go of the person wearing the rabbit mask, and then kept a certain distance from her. Task release. Task: protect Kirishima Tauka, who is being hunted by CCG. Task completion reward: Kirishima Tauka's favorability towards the host plus 20. Task incomplete penalty: none. At this time, the superdimension crossing system issued a task to Bai Yu, and the broadcast suddenly sounded in Bai Yu's mind. After receiving this task, Bai Yu looked at the person in front of him who had a Kagun and a rabbit mask, and then he remembered that this person was the heroine of this world, Kirishima Tauka. The main reason was that the incident just happened too suddenly, and Bai Yu had no chance to identify who attacked him, and Bai Yu could not have thought that the person was Kirishima Tauka. Bai Yu, who opened the Kagun, also showed the state of Kagun eyes. When the Kagun eyes were opened, Bai Yu was like wearing night vision goggles. At this moment, Kirishima Tauka's long and beautiful legs, which were exposed because of her ultra short shorts, were clearly seen by Bai Yu. When Kirishima Tauka saw Bai Yu's eyes, she was a little surprised. She attacked Bai Yu just now, mainly to bite off a piece of Bai Yu's flesh, to replenish her injured and overconsumed body, but she didn't expect Bai Yu to be a ghoul like herself. This made Kirishima Tauka a little embarrassed. Should she continue to fight with Bai Yu, or cooperate with him and get rid of the annoying Bai first? Exclamation mark. Or use Bai Yu to let Bai Yu help her to contain the two Bai? Exclamation mark. Just when Kirishima Tauka was hesitating, the two CCG Ghoul investigators had already come behind Bai Yu. Where can you run this time? Today is your death day, Bunny. Good man, you are very skilled. Leave the rest to us. You can leave first. We will apply for a reward for you when the time comes. But seeing that you are so skilled, if you are interested, I can take you to the CCG for a trial. Maybe you will become a very powerful Ghoul investigator in the future. The two CCG Ghoul investigators wearing windbreakers and holding two briefcases in their hands said excitedly. Standing opposite, Kirishima Tauka was hesitating whether to expose Bai Yu and then take the opportunity to escape. Perhaps because the alley was very dark, the two white cranes did not notice the knife in Bai Yu's right hand. Before Kirishima Tauka made a decision, Bai Yu had already made a move. With the help of the clever footwork of Ryu dance, he went behind the two white cranes and then chopped the back of the neck of the two white cranes with his hands. Then the two white cranes were knocked unconscious by Bai Yu. Although Bai Yu is now a ghoul, he still did not kill the two white cranes. The Liu dance just now was just a formal Liu dance. Bai Yu did not activate it through breathing techniques. He simply used his body movements mechanically. Without the support of breathing techniques, the body movements of Liu dance only had form but no spirit, so it looked very stiff. Although Bai Yu could also perform other moves simply, it was still just a mechanical expression of all the movements of the moves, and he could not display the mysteries contained in the moves. Without the support of breathing techniques, many of Bai Yu's moves would become mere decorations. Chapter 827 Nice to meet you. For example, if the breath of flame moves are not activated by breathing techniques, then Bai Yu's moves will definitely not have the effect of blazing flames, so it looks like a fancy move with no practical value. Another example is the wood invasion stab explosion of the breath of wood. Without the wood essence generated by the breath of wood, this move is just a simple thrust attack. However, the body movement moves are much better. Without the support of breathing techniques, the body movement itself has a mystery in it, so the impact will not be great, but the stiffness does exist. However, Bai Yu's action surprised Kirishima Tauka very much. She was not surprised that Bai Yu took action, but that Bai Yu did not choose to kill the two white cranes when he took action, but simply knocked them out. This is really abnormal. because gals and white cranes are completely opposite. Anyway, Kirishima Tauka has never seen a gal who would not kill white cranes. However, seeing that Bai Yu knocked out the 2 white cranes so easily and that Bai Yu had easily subdued her before, Kirishima Tauka immediately felt that Bai Yu was a very powerful gal, so Kirishima Tauka speculated that Bai Yu's level should be air level. Seeing Bai Yu dressed in an old-time outfit, Kirishima Tauka felt that Bai Yu was full of mystery, and most importantly, Kirishima Tauka thought that Bai Yu was quite handsome. However, Kirishima Tauka did not fall in love with Bai Yu all of a sudden. After all, in the context of Kirishima Tauka's highly modernized world, mobile phones, televisions, and the internet are already very popular, and entertainment culture has also flourished, so Kirishima Tauka has seen a lot of handsome guys. Why didn't you kill them? Kirishima Tauka asked Bai Yu. She felt that Bai Yu must have a reason, and she wanted to know Bai Yu's reason. Why should I kill them? If you think they deserve to die, you can do it yourself. Bai Yu asked back, and handed the right to life and death of the 2 CCG white cranes to Kirishima Tauka. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka was also very strange in her heart. Bai Yu obviously had the strength to do it, so why did he let herself do it? What a strange guy. Kirishima Tauka couldn't help but complain. Then he chose to get rid of the 2 white cranes, and Bai Yu did not stop Kirishima Tauka's behavior. Because Bai Yu knew that, if he didn't kill the 2 white cranes, it would probably cause a series of troubles in the future, and Bai Yu couldn't get over that hurdle in his heart, so he could only let Kirishima Tauka do it for him. Although Bai Yu didn't do it himself, Bai Yu's indulgence made Bai Yu an accomplice. Kirishima Tauka's actions were very clean and neat, without any torture, and directly twisted the necks of the 2 white cranes. From the clean and neat actions of Kirishima Tauka, it can be seen that Kirishima Tauka should not have done this for the first time. Although you are strange, I still have to thank you. My name is Kirishima Tauka. Let's share this person one each. You should have no objection. Kirishima Tauka took out a sleeping bag from her arms and began to put one of the white cranes into the sleeping bag. I don't need them, you can take them all. Although Bai Yu is a gal now, he will never eat people. Also, my name is Bai Yu. Nice to meet you. Chapter 828. You like me? Just when Kirishima Tauka solved the 2 white cranes, the broadcast of the mission completion sounded in Bai Yu's mind. And Bai Yu's words made Kirishima Tauka stop what she was doing and looked at Bai Yu with astonishment. A gal actually refused food, which was a situation that Kirishima Tauka had never encountered before. And looking at Bai Yu's strength, it didn't seem like he had never eaten people before. Bai Yu, right. So you like me? Are you trying to show your courtesy to me? Kirishima Tauka asked Bai Yu very straightforwardly. Hearing this, Bai Yu couldn't help but be amused by Kirishima Tauka's words. Seeing Bai Yu laughing, Kirishima Tauka felt that Bai Yu's smile was very beautiful and very comfortable to look at. What are you laughing at? Kirishima Tauka asked again. I have never seen a girl ask me if I like her as soon as I met her. You are the first one. Bai Yu replied with a smile. The most important thing is that I don't even know what you look like. How do you know that I like you? What if you are an ugly girl? Bai Yu continued to tease. Hearing Bai Yu's ridicule, Kirishima Tauka was not too angry, but asked again. Then why did you give everyone to me? Don't you need food? Bai Yu shook his head and said, I don't eat people. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka didn't believe it at all. This joke is not funny. Gals can't survive without eating people. Just after she finished speaking, Kirishima Tauka seemed to have thought of something again, and then she became alert to Bai Yu all of a sudden, and then took the initiative to distance herself from Bai Yu, and said at the same time, are you a gal of kilograms? Kilograms is a term for gals to cannibalize their own kind. That is to say, if gals don't eat humans, they can survive by eating their own kind. Moreover, the extremely powerful existences among gals have all kilograms, because kilograms can also obtain the kakuzo of other gals, making themselves even more powerful. However, the risk of KGO is much greater than that of cannibalism. After all, gals are more aggressive than humans, so if things go wrong, they may lose their lives. So when she heard that Akuha didn't eat people, Kirishima Talca immediately became nervous. Thinking of Hakuha's rude behavior to her just now, Kirishima Talca felt that Hakuha was a Kagyo gal. If Hakuha was a Kagyo gal, the situation would be dangerous because Kirishima Talca felt that she might not be able to beat Hakuha. Upon hearing this, Hakuha immediately found a reason to explain. Don't be nervous, I'm not a Kagyo gal, I rely on blood to survive, so I never kill humans. If I had bad thoughts about you, why would I tell you so much? That's right. Kirishima Talca also felt that this was the case. Although she was no longer so vigilant, she was still secretly on guard against Hakuha in her heart. I can't transport two people, so I'll give you the other one. Kirishima Talca was not greedy, but only took one person, and then carried the Bai who had been put into the sleeping bag on her back. Before leaving, she looked at Bai Yu for the last time and thanked her. Thank you. When Bai Yu saw that Kirishima Talca was about to leave, he immediately grabbed Kirishima Talca's arm and stopped her, saying, wait. Seeing Bai Yu stopping her from leaving, Kirishima Talca felt that Bai Yu was very strange. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 829. He is not my boyfriend. Seeing Bai Yu grabbing her arm, Kirishima Talca was a little confused about what Bai Yu, this weirdo, wanted to do, so she said, Bai Yu, what do you want to do? Don't take advantage of your handsomeness to do whatever you want to girls. I'm not easy to bully. Talca, I need a place to stay. Can you take me in for a while? Bai Yu said very directly. Hearing this, Kirishima Talca's expression under the mask was stunned again. Bai Yu's words made Kirishima Talca feel that Bai Yu was a pervert who had something in mind for girls. What a joke. You actually want to live with a girl like me, you pervert. After saying that, Kirishima Talca shook her hand vigorously, trying to shake off Bai Yu's hand, but Bai Yu grabbed it very tightly, and Kirishima Talca couldn't shake it off at all. No, I just need a place to stay urgently. We are all compatriots, so just help me, please. Bai Yu looked at Kirishima Talca with pleading eyes. You don't look like you are homeless. You have ulterior motives and other purposes. Kirishima Talca was still reluctant to take Bai Yu back. Although Bai Yu had just helped her out, Kirishima Talca still felt that Bai Yu was too strange. His behavior made Kirishima Talca think that Bai Yu was a pervert who had intentions towards her. Bai Yu was also a little anxious. Bai Yu's purpose was actually very simple. He just wanted a place to stay, and the coffee shop where Kirishima Talca worked was a good choice for Bai Yu, and it was also a place where he could meet the protagonist. But Bai Yu was still unclear about the current timeline. After all, for Bai Yu who traveled through time in this highly modernized world, Bai Yu did not have an ID card or anything like that, so it was actually very difficult for him to find a job and a place to stay by himself. At least he would have to live on the streets for a short time. Talca, I just saved you. You are too ruthless. Seeing that Kirishima Talca was unwilling to help him, Bai Yu immediately condemned Kirishima Talca. After being told by Bai Yu, Kirishima Talca felt a little guilty. Just when Kirishima Talca was undecided, another person suddenly jumped down from the roof. This person was wearing a dark grey long windbreaker, a mask similar to a gas mask on his face, and long light grey middle parted hair. Judging from the body shape and height of this person, it is obviously a man. Talca-chan, what's going on? Who is he? Is he your boyfriend? Doesn't he know that it is easy to expose himself when he is not wearing a mask? The man with the middle parted hair wearing a gas mask stood beside Kirishima Talca, then looked at Bai Yu carefully and asked, Uncle, he is not my boyfriend. He is a pervert, a weirdo. After Kirishima Talca called the man behind Bai Yu, she started to complain about Bai Yu. From the way Kirishima Talca addressed the man, we can already know the relationship between Kirishima Talca and the man. Kirishima Talca's uncle is called Shohorenji, who is also a gal, and a powerful gal. Then why are you willing to let him catch you? If he is a pervert, with your personality, you would have beaten him down long ago. Sifeng Lianchi looked at Bai Yu carefully. From Bai Yu's eyes and temperament, Sifeng Lianchi felt that Bai Yu was not a pervert at all. He is very powerful, and his level should be air level. I can't beat him. Kirishima Tauka made up a random reason to explain. Chapter 830 Misunderstanding. Why do I feel like you don't want to fight with her? Why? Are you reluctant? Are you afraid of hurting her face? Sifeng Lianchi couldn't help but tease again. At this time, Bai Yu took the initiative to explain. Hello, uncle. Dong Xiang and I are not boyfriend and girlfriend. I just happened to pass by here, and then Dong Xiang fell from the downstairs, and then the two Bai chased down, and I just rescued Dong Xiang. Uncle? You call me uncle, but you say you are not Dong Xiang's boyfriend? If you just don't know each other, how do you know my niece's name? Sifeng Lianchi heard Bai Yu's words, and began to question Bai Yu. After hearing Bai Yu's explanation, the situation became even more confusing. Kirishima Tauka immediately got angry, and scolded Bai Yu. Bai Yu, that's enough. Why do you call me uncle? What are you explaining? Bai Yu, you even know my name, and you still say that you are innocent? Sifeng Rinchi looked at Kirishima Tauka, as if he was going to make Kirishima Tauka confess the truth. Seeing that her uncle was ready to torture her, Kirishima Tauka finally exploded, and then the whole person became manic. Let go. This time, Bai Yu did not hold Kirishima Tauka's hand tightly, but took the initiative to let go of Kirishima Tauka. Uncle Tauka, first of all, let me make it clear that Tauka and I are not boyfriend and girlfriend. The reason why I call you uncle is because I don't know how to address you. In addition, Tauka and I are of similar age. Out of courtesy, I call you uncle as Tauka does. And I'm pestering Tauka because I need a place to stay. I hope you can take me in for a while. Bai Yu saw that Kirishima Tauka was so angry that she lost the ability to explain things, so she explained to Sifeng Rinchi. Hearing this, Sifeng Rinchi heard another meaning from Bai Yu's words, so he held his chin and interpreted Bai Yu's words. From what you said, do you want to live with my Tauka officially? It's good to find a reason to live together. But are you really worthy of Tauka's entrustment for life? Bai Yu. Suddenly, Tauka finally couldn't help but slapped Bai Yu in the face. After slapping Bai Yu, Kirishima Tauka left alone angrily. Sifeng Rinchi was not in a hurry to chase, but looked at Bai Yu who was beaten, then patted Bai Yu on the shoulder and comforted him. You are probably too anxious. Although Dong Xiang is usually careless, she is actually a shy girl. Wait for a chance, and apologize to her. Seeing Sifeng Rinchi's random matchmaking, Bai Yu wanted to beat him up. Bai Yu just wanted to find a place to stay in this world first. Why is Sifeng Rinchi so dramatic? However, since Sifeng Rinchi had misunderstood like this, Bai Yu was too lazy to explain it. Instead, he was more concerned about whether he could be taken in, so he asked back, then can uncle arrange a place for me to stay first? Find something to cover your face, bring base body, and follow me. Sifeng Rinchi did not continue to discuss emotional issues with Bai Yu, but planned to settle Bai Yu down first. Hearing this, Bai Yu did not think about Kirishima Dong Xiang for the time being. Originally, as long as Kirishima Dong Xiang agreed, there would probably not be so many misunderstandings. Chapter 831 Antique Coffee Shop. Afterwards, Bai Yu and Sifeng Rinchi were responsible for one corpse each. Under the leadership of Sifeng Rinchi, Bai Yu came to the back door of the antique coffee shop. The manager of the antique coffee shop, Fanken, was already waiting in the alley at the back door. Seeing Sifeng Rinchi coming back, Fanken immediately led Sifeng Rinchi into the coffee shop. As soon as he entered the house, Sifeng Rinchi put the sleeping bag containing the corpse of Bai Yu on the ground, and then took off the mask on his face. Manager Fanken became very interested in Bai Yu, who was wearing the old-time service, and was surprised that Kirishima Tauka did not come back with him. Bai Yu also put the sleeping bag containing the corpse of Bai Yu on the ground, and then pulled off the masked hand towel. Shifang, where is Tauka-chan? And who is this child? Manager Fanken looked at Shifang, and then at Bai Yu. Bai Yu did not rush to introduce himself, but looked at Manager Fanken quietly. Tauka-chan has a fight with her boyfriend. The child who came back with me is named Bai Yu, and he is Tauka-chan's boyfriend. Shikata Rinshi introduced Bai Yu to manager Yoshimura. Hearing how Shikata Rinshi introduced himself, Bai Yu could only smile awkwardly at manager Yoshimura. Even if you are Kirishima Tauka's boyfriend, you don't have to advertise it everywhere like a loudspeaker. Are you sure that I'm your niece's man? Hello. My name is Bai Yu. Please give me your guidance in the future. Bai Yu bowed to manager Yoshimura and said. Hearing this, manager Yoshimura looked at Bai Yu more carefully, and his eyes were like a grandfather looking at his grandson-in-law. When did Tauka-chan have a boyfriend? Why didn't I know? Manager Yoshimura asked with some confusion. It's normal for kids nowadays to date secretly. I went through the same thing. After all, this guy is handsome, and girls of Tauka-chan's age like him. Shikeo Rinshi is very open-minded about the issue of love between men and women. He has no intention of interfering with Shirahara and Kirishima Tauka's thoughts. From Shikeo Rinshi's performance, he seems to want to bring Shirahara and Kirishima Tauka together. Hearing this, manager Yoshimura had another question. That is, if Tauka-chan is dating secretly, how did Shikeo Rinshi know about it? And he brought Tauka's boyfriend back. However, manager Fanken did not ask about this, but introduced himself to Bai Yu. My name is Fanken Gunshin. I'm the manager of this antique coffee shop and the controller of the Ending district. Please give me more advice. Fanken, this kid said he needs a place to stay, so I plan to let him stay in the antique coffee shop. The store is also short of staff, so let him work in the store. I think he is very smart, and I can take him to collect food in the future. Sifeng Lianchi told Bai Yu's request to Fanken Gunshin at this time. Hearing this, Fanken Gunshin did not object, but asked Bai Yu, although working here is worry-free, the salary I can give is not high. Can you accept it? I don't care about the salary, as long as I have a place to stay. Bai Yu didn't have too many requirements for salary. After all, Bai Yu came to this world to do tasks, not to enjoy life. And Sifeng Lianchi patted Bai Yu on the shoulder again, and then joked, before Dong Xiang comes of age, you are not allowed to do anything beyond the line. This is my bottom line. Chapter 832 Check-in at the antique coffee shop. Afterwards, Bai Yu and Si Fang moved the sleeping bags to the cold storage room, and then manager Fanken took Bai Yu to a small room of only a few square meters, with only a bed and a bedside table in the room. You will live in this room in the future, and I will give you work training when the time comes. Fanken Gunshin said to Bai Yu, after pushing open the door. Bai Yu looked at the room. Although the room was small, Bai Yu did not dislike it at all, as long as it was clean. Got it. Sorry to bother you, manager Fanken. Bai Yu bowed to Fanken Gunshin again and said. Fanken Gunshin did not talk to Bai Yu too much, but turned and left. Afterwards, Fanken Gunshin went to the reception area on the first floor, and Sifeng Lianchi was already making coffee for himself at the bar. The face under the mask of Sifeng Lianchi was a face with heroic and handsome features, and a stubble on his chin, which made him look much more mature and more charming than a mature man. But it was not difficult to see that Sifeng Lianchi was also a handsome guy when he was young. Yoshimura Kazan sat down at the bar, seemingly waiting for Shikeo Rinshi's coffee. Yoshimura Kazan was a middle-aged man over 50 years old, with all his hair graying, combed into a slicked back style, and a thin face with a few wrinkles. However, because Yoshimura Kazan was tall and straight, he did not give people the feeling of being weak, but rather a strong posture. Yoshimura Kazan's eyes were always slightly narrowed, and there was always a smile on the corner of his mouth, which made people feel friendly when they saw him, and it was even difficult to imagine that such a kind middle-aged man would be a gal. After a while, Shikeo Rinshi brewed 2 cups of coffee, and then pushed one of them in front of Yoshimura Kazan, and then Shikeo Rinshi picked up his cup of coffee, and took a sip gently. The hospital has been exposed, and we can't get fresh corpses from the morgue in a short time, Shikeo Rinshi said, after swallowing the coffee in his mouth. This time was just like usual, but CCG's Bai set up an ambush in the morgue, and Talca and I almost capsized. When Shiketa Rinshi said this, you can hear that he was very unhappy and hated Bai. Why did you bring back to this time? Yoshimura Gunshin asked puzzledly. It stands to reason that it is impossible to bring back supplies after being ambushed. The one brought back was Bai, who was killed while chasing Talca-chan. Bai, who took action to solve it. Shiketa Rinshi replied. At that time, because of the ambush, after covering Tauka's safe retreat, Tauka and I got separated. When I found Tauka, she had already met up with Bai Yu. But at that time, Bai Yu grabbed Tauka's hand and wouldn't let her go. Even if I came, the boy's hand was still holding Tauka's arm. What an infatuated guy. Shikatarinshi couldn't help but sigh at the end. At this point, after taking a sip of coffee, Rinshi continued, after that, the boy was so shameless that he called me uncle directly and finally used the pretext of being homeless to get the opportunity to live with Dongxiang. What a cunning boy. Fang and Gunshin listened quietly to Rinshi's story while tasting Rinshi's coffee. Chapter 833 Explanation. At this time, Kirishima Tauka, who had been standing outside the door and listening for a long time, suddenly pushed the door open, rushed to her uncle, and declared angrily, "I've said it before, that weirdo named Bai Yu is not my boyfriend, and I don't have a boyfriend. I've only met him once." Rinshi looked at his niece who was yelling at him because of anger, and couldn't help laughing, and said perfunctorily, I know. As he said that, Rinshi pretended to pick his ears, and then complained, "My ears are going to be deafened by you." Kirishima Tauka knew that her uncle didn't believe what she said at all, and Kirishima Tauka couldn't accept that she had become a strange man's girlfriend inexplicably. "Even if you don't like Bai Yu, I can see that Bai Yu likes you," Rinshi continued. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka wanted to take off her shoes and use them to block her uncle's mouth. At this time, Yoshimura Kausen was more rational. Seeing that Kirishima Tauka strongly denied her relationship with Bai Yu, Yoshimura Kausen became more curious about this matter, so he asked Kirishima Tauka to tell him everything that happened after she separated from Rinshi. Kirishima Tauka also told him everything that happened very seriously, especially about the encounter with Shaka, which was the most detailed, because Tauka really didn't want to be misunderstood. After listening to Kirishima Tauka's speech, Yoshimura Kausen believed Kirishima Tauka's statement, so he said on behalf of Kirishima Tauka and Rinshi, "Shaka, it seems that you misunderstood. You missed the marriage of these two children." "That's right. Hurry up and give me a cup of coffee. It's a waste of words to explain things to you." After the misunderstanding was resolved, Kirishima Tauka was completely relieved and in a better mood. Hearing this, Rinshi showed a smile that showed that he had seen through the matter thoroughly, and then pushed his coffee in front of Kirishima Tauka. Seeing this, Kirishima Tauka said with disdain, "I don't want your leftovers." Kirishima Tauka didn't want to drink what he had already drunk, so Rinshi could only make a new cup of coffee for Kirishima Tauka. While making coffee, Rinshi said, "Even if you and Bai Yu are not in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, Bai Yu must like you, otherwise he wouldn't suddenly find a reason for you to take him in after saving you. He did this just to get close to you. Aren't you afraid that he approaches me to eat me?" Kirishima Tauka couldn't help but ask back. No, his eyes are very clear, not like the eyes of a gal at all. If he wanted to eat you, why would he go through so much trouble? Besides, he took the initiative to call me uncle, which means he must like you and regards himself as your husband. Rinshi said his analysis again. After hearing her uncle's irrelevant reasoning and analysis, Kirishima Tauka no longer wanted to argue with Rinshi, but said very decisively, "Even so, even if I can't get married, I won't like him." Hearing this, Rinshi couldn't help but smile, and then teased, "Don't be so absolute. I have brought Bai Yu back to the antique coffee shop, and you will be co-workers here from now on." Chapter 834. Disturbed Kirishima Tauka. "What? You actually brought that weirdo back?" When Kirishima Tauka heard what her uncle said, she suddenly stood up. Rinshi handed the brewed coffee to Kirishima Tauka and said, "They helped you. You should also help them. Have you forgotten the management concept of our anti-Ying district?" "No," Kirishima Tauka still answered unwillingly. "Maybe they just simply need a place to stay. So why are you so nervous?" Rinshi added. Kirishima Tauka ignored her uncle and looked at Yoshimura Kausen and asked, "Manager, do you also agree to take in Bai Yu? Aren't you afraid that he is a bad guy?" Yoshimura Kausen nodded and said, "The child's eyes are very clear. At this stage, you can choose to give him a certain degree of trust. At this time, Shiffun finished the rest of his coffee, walked out of the bar, patted Kirishima Tauka on the shoulder, and said, "Remember to get along well with her. I'll leave first." After that, Shiffun Rinshi left the antique coffee shop without looking back. At this time, Yoshimura Kazan said to Kirishima Tauka, "Tauka-chan, Bai Yu lives in a small compartment on the second floor. Remember to send him a set of work clothes later, and take him to work early tomorrow morning." Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka was somewhat dissatisfied with the manager's arrangement, and then refused. "Why? I won't go. This is your job." Excluding other things, he is now a new employee of the store. As an old employee here, you should help him adapt to the work and life here as soon as possible. "Your current performance makes me think that you like that child." As he said, Yoshimura Kazan did not forget to add another sentence. "I don't like him." Kirishima Tauka stated very clearly, if you don't like someone, there is no need to deliberately emphasize it to others. I and Shiffun will not force you to be with that child. Just do what you should do. Yoshimura Kazan finally said some educational words to Kirishima Tauka. After that, Yoshimura Kazan also finished the coffee in his coffee cup, and then got up and left. When Yoshimura Kazan walked to the stairs, he suddenly stopped again, then turned around, and added to Kirishima Tauka, "Remember to clean up the bar." "Got it." Kirishima Tauka replied impatiently. The store manager didn't care about Kirishima Tauka's tone, but turned around and couldn't help but chuckled and shook his head. Girls and adolescents just don't like to be disciplined. After the store manager left completely, Kirishima Tauka couldn't help but complain. "Damn uncle and store manager. You said you weren't forcing me, aren't you just trying to give me more opportunities to contact that freak?" After sulking at the bar, Kirishima Tauka cleaned up the bar and then returned to the second floor. After Kirishima Tauka came to the corridor on the second floor, she couldn't help but look in the direction of the small compartment in the corner. Thinking that Bai Yu lived there, Kirishima Tauka's whole train of thought suddenly became a ball. Thinking back to her uncle saying that Bai Yu liked her, Kirishima Tauka didn't know how to face Bai Yu. After all, it was the first time for Tauka Kirishima to experience such a thing, that someone who liked her lived under the same roof with her. Chapter 835 Kirishima Tauka knocks on the door. But the fact is that now Bai Yu has no feelings for Kirishima Tauka. Originally, Kirishima Tauka did not think that Bai Yu liked her. She was mainly influenced by her uncle Shihorenshi's random analysis. After all, Kirishima Tauka is now in her prime, and girls of this age will have aspirations for love. So Kirishima Tauka misunderstood that Bai Yu liked her, and found a reason to stay in the antique coffee shop. Therefore, it is unlikely that Kirishima Tauka will take it with a normal heart now. Everything is work. Just work. Kirishima Tauka kept giving herself psychological hints in her heart, asking herself to think more. Then, Kirishima Tauka found 2 new work clothes from the locker room, and then Kirishima Tauka came to the door of the small compartment where Bai Yu lived. After hesitating for a moment, Kirishima Tauka took a deep breath, and then knocked on Bai Yu's door. Dong dong dong. Bai Yu, who was lying on the bed in the room, and preparing to rest, quickly got up, and opened the door after hearing the knock on the door. After Bai Yu opened the door, Bai Yu and Kirishima Tauka looked at each other again. Bai Yu was a little surprised that Kirishima Tauka knocked on the door, but Bai Yu didn't think much about it, because Bai Yu didn't think anything would happen between him and Kirishima Tauka now. "Tauka, is there anything?" Bai Yu saw that Kirishima Tauka didn't speak, so he took the initiative to ask. "This is the work clothes that the store manager asked me to send you. I will come to call you when I start work at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning." Facing Bai Yu's inquiry, Kirishima Tauka also stated her purpose very officially. Hearing this, Bai Yu took the work clothes handed over by Kirishima Tauka, and then thanked her. "Thank you. You have worked hard. If there is nothing else, then good night. See you tomorrow." After that, Bai Yu planned to close the door again, and did not intend to communicate more with Kirishima Tauka. Seeing that Bai Yu was about to close the door and send the guest away, Kirishima Tauka suddenly used her hand to hold the door. Seeing this, Bai Yu immediately asked again, "Is there anything else?" Kirishima Tauka looked at Bai Yu and after a long time she said, "Why do you want to live in the antique coffee shop?" But in fact, what Kirishima Talca really wanted to ask was whether Bai Yu liked her, but because she really couldn't open her mouth, Kirishima Talca could only change to a more obscure way of asking. Hearing this, Bai Yu didn't think much about it, nor did he guess what Kirishima Talca really wanted to ask, but answered very seriously, "Didn't I tell you before? I need a place to stay. But your uncle is a better person," and agreed to me very readily. When hearing the first half of Bai Yu's words, Kirishima Talca felt that Bai Yu just didn't want to reveal his true purpose, but Bai Yu's second half of the sentence complained about Kirishima Talca, which made Kirishima Talca a little angry. "That's because my uncle misunderstood you as my boyfriend, so he agreed to it. Besides, what's wrong with me? Is it that I'm not good looking?" Kirishima Talca questioned Bai Yu again, and then lifted up her hair that covered half of her face, actively exposing her appearance to Bai Yu. "Nothing is wrong with me. Everything is fine. You are very pretty, but you have a bad temper. But this misunderstanding was also caused by you. If you had agreed to me earlier, maybe there wouldn't be such a misunderstanding." Bai Yu didn't dare to offend Kirishima Talca, but praised her appearance. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 836, Bai Yu's Apology. Bai Yu's words were pleasing to the ear at the beginning, but the latter part made Kirishima Talca unbearable. "I have a bad temper? I'm angry with you because of my bad temper. You even said that the misunderstanding was caused by me. If you were not a pervert pestering me, there would be this misunderstanding. I would have left long ago." Kirishima Talca turned around and blamed Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu was also stunned by Kirishima Talca, so he took the initiative to apologize to Kirishima Talca. "I'm sorry, but I really need a place to stay. I'm really sorry for the inconvenience and trouble." Faced with Bai Yu's sudden apology, Kirishima Talca was stunned. "Talca, it's getting late. If you have to go to work tomorrow, everyone should go to bed early. Good night. Remember to help me close the door before you leave." Bai Yu also quickly found a reason to slip into the room. Because Bai Yu didn't know whether Kirishima Talca was willing to leave, Bai Yu gave the task of closing the door to Kirishima Talca. After Bai Yu put his work clothes on the bedside table, he fell on the bed. Seeing that Bai Yu took the initiative to avoid her, Kirishima Talca did not pester Bai Yu anymore, but could only help Bai Yu close the door, then turned and left. "Damn guy." Kirishima Talca, who turned and left, could not help but curse at Bai Yu. When Bai Yu heard the door close, he couldn't help but sighed. Finally gone. Kirishima Talca, who returned to her room, did not get a good rest that night because of Bai Yu. On the other hand, Bai Yu, after experiencing the battle with Muzan Kibutsuji, had fallen asleep comfortably. The next morning, Kirishima Talca, who had finally fallen asleep, was soon woken up by the alarm clock. Kirishima Talca had to get up irritably, change clothes, and then brush her teeth and wash her face. After changing into the work clothes of the coffee shop, Kirishima Talca soon came to the door of Bai Yu. She knocked on Bai Yu's door again and said, "Bai Yu, come out to work." Soon the door was opened by Bai Yu, and Bai Yu, who had changed into work clothes, stood in front of Kirishima Talca. Kirishima Talca couldn't help but look at Bai Yu carefully. Compared with Bai Yu's clothes in the old era, Kirishima Talca felt that Bai Yu was much more pleasing to the eye in modern clothes. However, when Kirishima Talca saw Bai Yu's feet, she immediately frowned and then asked with disdain, "Bai Yu, why are you still wearing such shoes? It's ugly." Bai Yu looked down at his feet. At this time, Bai Yu was still wearing a kind of cloth shoes in the background era of Demon Slayer. These shoes were quite suitable for Bai Yu's kimono, but when Bai Yu changed into the work clothes of the shareholder coffee shop, it looked very abrupt. This kind of work clothes, similar to those of waiters in high-end hotels, is more suitable when paired with leather shoes. The shoes that Kirishima Talca wore were women's leather shoes with slightly high heels. Paired with black tights, it looks very playful and sexy. And because the lower body of the women's work clothes is a skirt, this forms an absolute territory with the black tights. You didn't give me shoes, I only have this pair of shoes to wear. Bai Yu complained to Kirishima Taoka that she didn't prepare shoes for herself. Seeing Bai Yu complaining about herself again, Kirishima Taoka could only admit defeat, and then said in a very disgusted tone, okay, it's all my fault, I forgot. Chapter 837 Bai Yu's first day at work. Come with me. Kirishima Taoka had no choice but to bring Bai Yu to the dressing room, and then she rummaged through the shoe cabinet. Soon, Kirishima Taoka found a pair of leather shoes that suited Bai Yu. Put them on. Don't wear those shoes anymore. What era is this? You still fantasize about living in the past. Kirishima Taoka handed the leather shoes she found to Bai Yu. Bai Yu didn't say much. He took the shoes and put them on. This time, Bai Yu finally integrated into this modern society thoroughly. Then, Bai Yu followed Kirishima Taoka to the store door outside the first floor and then hung up the business sign. After doing this, Kirishima Taoka said to Bai Yu, the first thing you should do when you wake up in the future is to come down and hang up the business sign. Shouldn't the first thing you do when you wake up be to open your eyes? Bai Yu couldn't help but joked. Hearing this, Kirishima Taoka replied indifferently, I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Otherwise, the store manager arranges me to train you, and I won't talk to you. After hanging up the business sign, Bai Yu and Kirishima Taoka returned to the store on the first floor. Back in the store, Kirishima Taoka turned on the TV hanging on the wall of the store. The coffee shop run by Yoshimura Cousin is not big, and there are only 20 seats in the store at most. At this time, the store manager Yoshimura Cousin also came down from downstairs. The living area on the second floor is connected to the coffee shop on the first floor for business, which means that this coffee shop is a two-story homestay. The guests who come here to drink coffee or eat snacks are white-collar workers or college students working nearby. The customer base is also relatively stable, and they mainly rely on repeat customers to make a living. Good morning, store manager. Kirishima Taoka saw Yoshimura Cousin coming down from upstairs, so she took the initiative to greet Yoshimura Cousin. Good morning, manager. Bai Yu also imitated Kirishima Taoka. Good morning, Taoka-chan. Bai Yu. Yoshimura Cousin also greeted Bai Yu and Kirishima Taoka kindly. It seems that you two get along well. Bai Yu, I hope your arrival can help Taoka-chan share some of the work pressure. Because Taoka-chan not only has to work in the coffee shop, but also studies for college entrance examinations by herself. She is a very hard-working child. Yoshimura Cousin was happy that Bai Yu and Kirishima Taoka could get along harmoniously, and at the same time, gave Bai Yu all his expectations. Hearing this, Bai Yu could only respond, I will, manager. I'm already very happy that you don't make me angry, and it's fine if you share the work pressure for me. Don't let the pressure not be shared, but increase my pressure instead. Kirishima Taoka said in a tone of begging Bai Yu to let her go. Bai Yu didn't say much, anyway, he just had to do his job well. Soon the manager walked into the bar, and seemed to have entered the working state, waiting for the arrival of customers. Kirishima Taoka stood by the door of the store, very dignified, and seemed to be waiting for the arrival of customers. Bai Yu also crossed his hands in front of him, and then stood beside Kirishima Taoka, quietly waiting. Bai Yu did not talk to Kirishima Taoka. After all, it should be working hours now, so Bai Yu did not want to be labeled as having a bad work attitude in the eyes of Yoshimura Cousin, because of talking too much with Kirishima Taoka. Chapter 838, Meeting Zuan. At the same time, in order to prevent the misunderstanding between himself and Kirishima Taoka from increasing, Bai Yu did not plan to talk too much with Kirishima Taoka. In this quiet atmosphere, Bai Yu could not help but miss his unrestrained days in the Demon Slayer Corps. Now Bai Yu's status can be said to have plummeted. In this world, he has suddenly become a member of the bottom of society. After a while, the door of the store was pushed open, and a woman dressed the same as Kirishima Taoka walked in, and greeted with a smile. Good morning, Taoka-chan. Good morning, Manager Yoshimura. This woman looked much older than Kirishima Taoka, probably in her 20s, with a ponytail, and a much slender figure than Kirishima Taoka, which was also due to her height. Good morning, Sister Zayaksen. Good morning. Zuan-chan. Kirishima Talca and Yoshimura Kalzen also greeted the woman called Zuan, and Bai Yu also greeted politely. Good morning. Sister Zayaksen. Hearing Bai Yu's voice, Zuan noticed Bai Yu. After seeing Bai Yu's unfamiliar face, Zuan's face showed a surprised expression, but she still replied to Bai Yu, good morning. Manager Yoshimura, is this your new clerk? He looks so handsome. Is he the same type of person as us? Zuan looked at Bai Yu and asked Yoshimura Kalzen. Yeah. Yoshimura Kalzen responded. Hello. My name is Rujian Zuan. What's your name? The woman who called herself Rujian Zuan reached out and kneaded Bai Yu's face and asked. Bai Yu also took the opportunity to touch Rujian Zuan's face, but did not answer. Seeing this, Kirishima Talca immediately slapped Bai Yu's hand and then scolded Bai Yu. What are you doing? Bai Yu. How can you touch a girl's face casually? Rujian Zuan did not expect Bai Yu to touch her face and was frightened and retracted her hand that was kneading Bai Yu's face. Fanken Gunshan did not mean to interfere, but quietly looked at Bai Yu, Kirishima Talca and Rujian Zuan. At this time, Bai Yu said, she touched my face first, so I touched her face. Hearing this, Rujian Zuan quickly apologized. I'm sorry, I didn't know you don't like being touched on the face. It's okay. Bai Yu didn't care about it anymore. Bai Yu really didn't want Rujian Zuan to knead his face like playing with plasticine, so he also touched her face. After all, Bai Yu can't have a stinky face and scold people a few words to ask them not to touch. This will probably make everyone embarrassed, and it will also affect the relationship in the future. When Kirishima Talca saw that Bai Yu had found such a legitimate reason to touch Rumi Zuan's face, she felt that Bai Yu had taken advantage. Your name is Bai Yu, right? My name is Rumi Zuan. Please give me your guidance in the future. Rumi Zuan extended her hand regardless of the past, intending to shake hands with Bai Yu to formally get to know him. Please give me your guidance. Bai Yu did not remain silent and shook Rumi Zuan's hand. How old are you today? Do you have a girlfriend? Rumi Zuan seemed to be very interested in Bai Yu, and she continued to hold on to Bai Yu and asked. When Kirishima Talca saw this scene, she couldn't help but feel unbearable in her heart. As for why she had this feeling, Kirishima Talca didn't know. Chapter 839 Kirishima Talca's Death Stare. Anyway, Kirishima Talca just doesn't want to see Bai Yu being overly intimate with the opposite sex in the antique coffee shop, but Kirishima Talca is sure that this is not a sign of liking Bai Yu, but she can't stand Bai Yu chatting enthusiastically with the opposite sex during working hours. After all, Bai Yu's current responsibility is work, not chatting with the opposite sex. 23 years old. Single. Bai Yu also answered very politely. The reason why Bai Yu said that he was single was not that he had no feelings for Shinobu Kocho, but that in this world, Bai Yu was indeed single. Bai Yu was still relatively young and still had physiological needs, so Bai Yu would not cut off communication with the opposite sex. At this time, Kirishima Talca suddenly forcibly separated the hands of Bai Yu and Rumi Zuan, then glared at Bai Yu and said, "It's working hours now, be serious." After glaring at Bai Yu, Kirishima Talca quickly looked at Rumi Zuan with a smile, and then said, "Zayaksen sister, you should also go and do your own thing. Don't teach the newcomers bad lessons by chatting during working hours." Talca, this shouldn't be a casual chat. Zuan-chan and I are mutual acquaintances between new employees and old employees. How can this be called a chat? Don't you think so? Zuan-chan? Bai Yu then started to tear down Kirishima Talca's stage again. Manager Yoshimura was still looking at the three people who were gradually getting familiar with each other, and the smile on his face became more obvious. At the same time, he couldn't help but murmured softly, "It's good to be young." That's true. Rumi Zuan became a fangirl when Bai Yu called her Zuan-chan. Kirishima Talca was already furious with Bai Yu, and she even called Rumi Zuan, Zuan-chan. Immediately, Kirishima Talca glanced at Bai Yu with a murderous look, and then asked, "Have you finished knowing each other?" Seeing the look in Kirishima Talca's eyes, Bai Yu could only admit his weakness, so he said, "We have finished knowing each other." Zuan-chan. As soon as Bai Yu said the word Zuan-chan, Kirishima Tauka interrupted Bai Yu again and glared at Bai Yu fiercely. Bai Yu had to change his words and said, "That little Zuan sister, you go and do your work. I and Tauka will take care of this." Rumi Zuan also felt something was wrong, so she looked at the embarrassed Bai Yu and Kirishima Tauka with a strange look. Now Kirishima Tauka and Bai Yu gave her the feeling that they were the strict wife at home disciplining her husband. Feeling that something was wrong, Rumi Zuan also stopped pestering Bai Yu and came to the bar. After Janru Zuan left, Kirishima Tauka taught Bai Yu a lesson. "Bai Yu, remember that you come to the antique coffee shop to make a living, not to mess around with girls. In addition, you are not allowed to whisper with girls during working hours." Hearing what Kirishima Tauka said, Bai Yu agreed with the first half of Bai Yu's words, but Bai Yu couldn't accept the second half. Could it be that there are no female customers in the coffee shop? Exclamation mark. "Tauka, let me ask, are there no female customers in our store?" Bai Yu looked at Kirishima Tauka and asked. Bai Yu's question made Kirishima Tauka feel that Bai Yu was thinking about girls in his mind, so she said coldly, "You only think about girls in your mind, and you say you are not a pervert. The manager shouldn't have kept you here. You'd better not find any bad behavior for me, otherwise I will let the manager kick you out of the antique coffee shop." Because of Bai Yu's question, Bai Yu has now been completely labeled as a pervert by Kirishima Tauka. Chapter 840, Hardworking Life. Faced with the tyranny of Kirishima Tauka, Bai Yu had no choice but to remain silent and ignore Kirishima Tauka. After Rumi Zuan came to the bar, she curiously asked Manager Fanken, "Manager, what happened to Tauka-chan? Why are you so mean to a newcomer? Bai Yu is not Tauka-chan's boyfriend." "But why did Bai Yu say that he was single just now?" "I'm planning to take this opportunity to get rid of being single." Faced with Rumi Zuan's complaints, Fanken Gunshin shook his head and did not want to interfere in the emotional affairs of young people, so he shook his head and said, "Who knows?" Not long after, the door of the store was pushed open again. This time it was not a customer, but a man wearing the same work clothes as Bai Yu. This man was much more muscular than Bai Yu, with a brown oily head. His hair was all sparse back like Fanken Gunshin, but the man's hair in front of his forehead was combed higher, unlike Fanken Gunshin's hair which was close to his hair. Moreover, the man's appearance was not high. The most eye-catching feature of his facial features was the big nose, which looked a bit like an orangutan. This also makes this man give people a simple and honest feeling, but who would have thought that such a person is also a gal? "Good morning, Deng Xiang-chan." As soon as the man came into the store, he was the first to greet Deng Xiang-chan with a smile. "Good morning, Mr. Furuma." Deng Xiang-chan also smiled at the man called Furuma. Soon, Furuma noticed Bai Yu, and then shifted all his attention to Bai Yu. "Are you new here? My name is Furuma Yuana. Please teach me." Furuma Yuana took the initiative to extend his hand to Bai Yu. Hearing this, Bai Yu also politely shook hands with Furuma Yuana, and then introduced himself. "Bai Yu, please teach me." Furuma Yuana, a man, did not have too much interest in Bai Yu like Ruji and Zuan, but after a simple mutual acquaintance with Bai Yu, he immediately came to the bar. After Ruji and Zuan and Furuma Yuana, the two shop assistants, arrived at the store, no other employees arrived at the coffee shop. Obviously, with Bai Yu, there were only 5 staff members in the antique coffee shop. Soon, white-collar workers who worked nearby came to the coffee shop to consume. "Welcome to the antique coffee shop. Please come in." Kirishima Tauka suddenly became a different person when facing the customers who came into the store. She smiled and her voice became gentle, showing extreme enthusiasm to the customers. "Welcome to the antique coffee shop. Good morning." Bai Yu also quickly followed Kirishima Tauka's words, but Bai Yu muttered in his heart, "Women really change their faces faster than turning pages of books." But this was just Bai Yu's simple complaint. After all, it is impossible for the waiter to have a cold face and ignore the customers. "Good morning." The customer also politely replied to Kirishima Tauka, and then found a seat and sat down very familiarly. Kirishima Tauka looked at Bai Yu, then whispered to Bai Yu, "Follow me. See how I receive guests." Hearing this, Bai Yu could only follow Kirishima Tauka to the guest's location. Kirishima Tauka then asked the guest with a smile, "Hello. would you like something to drink or something to eat? The guest did not ask for a menu, but directly replied, I want a sandwich and a latte, thank you. Chapter 841 Kaneki Ken appears. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka repeated the customer's words, a sandwich and a latte. At the same time, Kirishima Tauka wrote down the customer's order on the sticky note in her hand, and then stuck it on a corner of the table. Please wait a moment, Kirishima Tauka said, and then she was about to report the customer's order to the bar. But when Kirishima Tauka turned around, Bai Yu had already arrived at the bar before her. Manager, please prepare a sandwich and a latte. Bai Yu reported the customer's order to Yoshimura Kousen at the bar. I know. Yoshimura Kousen replied to Bai Yu with a smile. Very smart. Brother Bai Yu. It seems that you should be able to adapt to the work here soon. Furuma Rena immediately praised Bai Yu's eye-catching. After that, Furuma Rena began to wash his hands and started making sandwiches, while Yoshimura Kousen also started brewing latte coffee. Then, another customer entered the store, and Bai Yu took the initiative to greet him, and then entered the working state to greet the customer who entered the store. Kirishima Tauka did not expect that Bai Yu could integrate into the work so quickly, and his attitude was quite correct, not as careless as Kirishima Tauka worried. When the male customer who entered the store saw Bai Yu, he couldn't help but ask, are you new here? I haven't seen you before. Yes. Today is my first day at work. Please give me more advice in the future. Bai Yu replied to the male customer who had already sat down with a smile. So you are already a regular customer here. What would you like to order? Bai Yu also took the opportunity to chat and quickly got to the point. A cup of white coffee and then a sandwich. The sandwich must have double eggs and double bacon. The customer told Bai Yu what he wanted to order without looking at the menu. Okay. Please wait. Bai Yu did not have Kirishima Tauka's sticky notes, so Bai Yu remembered what the customer ordered. Manager, 1 white coffee and 1 sandwich. Double eggs and bacon for the sandwich, thank you. Bai Yu immediately told the manager at the bar what the customer ordered. Got it. Yoshimura Ganshin replied calmly. At this time, Kirishima Tauka took the initiative to come to Bai Yu, and then gave half of her sticky notes to Bai Yu, and also gave Bai Yu a pen. Bai Yu, write the food ordered by the guests on the sticky notes and stick them on the corners of the table. Tear them off as soon as the guests check out. Kirishima Tauka explained to Bai Yu what to do when ordering. Got it. Bai Yu took the sticky notes and pen and didn't ask any more questions. Although Bai Yu could remember the food ordered by the guests in his mind, Bai Yu still treated it as a feature of the store. Soon. At this time, Zu and Rumi brought a plate with latte and a sandwich cut into 2 right-angled triangles to the counter and said, sandwich with latte. Kirishima Tauka immediately picked up the plate and delivered the dishes to the corresponding customers. Bai Yu also took the opportunity to write the information of the dishes ordered by another customer on a sticky note at the bar, and then stuck the sticky note on the corner of the table where the customer was sitting. After that, Bai Yu and Kirishima Tauka were busy like this. At noon, 2 young people came into the store soon. Bai Yu knew that the 2 were college students by their clothes. Kaneki, tell me about your date yesterday. Chapter 842 First Contact. When he saw the 2 young men coming in, Bai Yu also recognized Kaneki Ken and Nagachi Karira. However, Bai Yu still maintained an attitude that he didn't know Kaneki Ken. In fact, Bai Yu didn't really know Kaneki Ken now, but as a dimensional traveler, Bai Yu just knew that Kaneki Ken was the protagonist of this world. Welcome to the antique coffee shop. Bai Yu immediately took the initiative to greet Kaneki Ken and Nagachi Karira who came in. Bai Yu's greetings diverted the attention of Kaneki Ken and Nagachi Karira. Kaneki Ken was curious about Bai Yu's strange face, so he took the initiative to talk to Bai Yu. Are you a new clerk? I haven't seen you before. From Kaneki Ken's question, it can be seen that he is also a frequent customer of the antique coffee shop. Yes, today is my first day at work, please come in. Bai Yu replied. Kaneki Ken didn't say any more nonsense, but took Nagachi Karira to an empty seat and sat down. At this time, Nagachi Karira said to Bai Yu, well, can we let that cute short-haired girl order for us? Hearing this, Bai Yu looked at Kirishima Tauka who was serving food to the guests, and then said, sure. I'll tell you now. Bai Yu did not refuse Nagachi Karira's request. After all, Bai Yu is also a man and knows that Nagachika is more willing to contact beautiful people of the opposite sex of the same age. Bai Yu also doesn't think that Nagachika can flirt with Kirishima. After all, Kirishima is a gal. Although humans and gals can combine, humans who can accept gals are simply too rare. And gals are unlikely to accept humans. After saying that, Bai Yu turned and left. When Kaneki Ken heard Nagachika's request, he became a little shy, and then he didn't understand Nagachika's behavior, and immediately said to Nagachika nervously, "Ei, what are you doing? Don't be nervous. Don't be nervous." Nagachika patted Kaneki Ken's shoulder, and then said, "You come here to drink coffee just to meet girls. So don't be shy. This is our right as customers." Hearing Nagachika's words, Kaneki Ken didn't say anything more, and seemed to agree with what Nagachika said. At this time, a news channel was playing on the TV in the store. Next, I will report a special news. Yesterday morning, several male bodies were found in the Aqua Building, a commercial building in Tokyo 20th District. The saliva of gals was detected in the wounds on the bodies. Therefore, the CCG determined that gals were active near the Aqua Building. Citizens living near the Aqua Building, please try not to go out at night. Kaneki Ken and Nagachika Hideyoshi were attracted by this special news. They both looked in the direction of the TV. At this time, Nagachika Hideyoshi couldn't help but sighed. If only there were no gals in this world. In this way, humans would not have to live in fear every day. And Bai Yu had already come in front of Kirishima and said to her, "Taoka, the two handsome guys over there asked you to order food for them." Hearing this, Kirishima looked at Kaneki Ken and Nagachika Hideyoshi and said, "Got it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 843, Kirishima being flirted with. Kirishima still had an impression of the two customers, Kaneki Ken and Nagachika, because Kaneki Ken was also a frequent customer of this coffee shop, so Kirishima did not think that their request was excessive. Nagachika saw Kirishima looking over, and he could not help but wave to her. Then, Nagachika looked at Kaneki Ken again, and then asked in a low voice, "Kaneki, is that the girl you are talking about her?" "No. Don't talk nonsense." Kaneki Ken immediately denied. At this time, Kirishima had come in front of Kaneki Ken and Nagachika and then asked them with a smile, "Would you like something to drink?" "I want a cup of mocha coffee, thank you." Kaneki Ken said to Kirishima shyly, "I want a cup of cappuccino." Nagachika seemed to be much more natural, with a carefree look. "1 cup of mocha coffee and 1 cup of cappuccino." Kirishima repeated the dishes ordered by Kaneki Ken and Nagachika while writing them down on a sticky note with a pen. After writing, Kirishima tore off the sticky note and stuck it on the corner of the table. Just as Kirishima was about to leave, Nagachika suddenly called Kirishima again. "Wait, what's your name?" "My name is Kirishima." Kirishima replied. Then, Nagachika suddenly stood up and moved in front of Kirishima. The two faces were so close that they could almost kiss each other, which made Kirishima shy all of a sudden and covered her mouth with her hand. E.g., Kaneki Ken saw that his friend scared Kirishima, so he immediately stood up and reminded Nagachika while also preventing Nagachika from doing anything excessive. Bai Yu looked at the situation of Kirishima and Kaneki Ken and couldn't help but smile. "Talka-chan, do you have a boyfriend?" Nagachika Hideyoshi didn't do anything excessive, but just asked Kirishima directly if she had a boyfriend. Kirishima subconsciously turned her head to look at Bai Yu, and then saw Bai Yu looking at the situation here. Kirishima suddenly became more nervous, and finally ran away without answering Nagachika Hideyoshi's question. "Stupid, what are you talking about? You are too direct." Kaneki Ken blamed Nagachika Hideyoshi. Nagachika Hideyoshi didn't care about Kaneki Ken's blame at all, but thought that Kirishima Tauka's shy performance was very cute, so he couldn't help but sighed. So cute. Kaneki Ken saw that Nagachika Hideyoshi didn't listen to him at all, so he patted Nagachika Hideyoshi's head and said again, "What are you thinking about? What if we are banned from entering the store for harassing women? This store is the only place where she and I can meet." "I know. It's okay. It's okay. It's just a simple chat." Nagachika Hideyoshi calmed Kaneki Ken's excitement. The frightened Kirishima Tauka quickly came to the bar and said to the manager, "Manager, a cup of mocha coffee and a cup of cappuccino." "I know." Yoshimura Kausen didn't care that Kirishima Tauka was approached by a boy just now, but replied lightly. After saying that, Yoshimura Kausen couldn't help but look at Bai Yu. Chapter 844 Kaneki Ken's date. Bai Yu's eyes have been on Kirishima Tauka. After Kirishima Tauka subconsciously shifted her sights to Bai Yu, she saw Bai Yu staring straight at her and couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "Bai Yu, why are you staring at me? Are you a pervert again?" Hearing this, Bai Yu shook his head and replied, "I just think it's very funny that someone confessed to you. They probably don't know that under your cute appearance, you are actually a barrel of explosives that will explode at any time." Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka couldn't help but look at Kaneki Ken and Nagachika and found that their attention was no longer on her. Kirishima Tauka stepped on Bai Yu fiercely, then glared at Bai Yu and said, "You are the barrel of explosives." Bai Yu injured the pain on the back of his foot and then took the initiative to distance himself from Kirishima Tauka. Seeing that Bai Yu was still hiding from her, Kirishima Tauka took the initiative to move over and then secretly stepped on Bai Yu again. "Tauka, have you stepped on me enough? My shoes are about to be broken by you." Bai Yu couldn't help but question Tauka in a low voice. After all, it was a public place now, and it was working hours, so he had to give Kirishima Tauka face. Otherwise, if the people in the store knew that Kirishima Tauka was not a delicate girl, it would probably affect the business of the store. "No, leather shoes are not that easy to break," Kirishima Tauka said very willfully, and then stepped on Bai Yu again. "I'm going to the toilet." Bai Yu had to take the opportunity to slip away under the pretext of going to the toilet. After saying that, Bai Yu immediately went upstairs. Kirishima Tauka didn't pester Bai Yu anymore, but stood quietly in front of the bar. On the other side, Nagachika, who was chatting with Kaneki Ken, suddenly laughed. "Ha ha ha, Kaneki, you really want to make me laugh to death. No wonder you don't have a girlfriend. There's no need to laugh like this." Kaneki Ken was also a little embarrassed because of Nagachika's ridicule of him. "You are such an idiot. You actually took a girl to a bookstore on your first date. That's hilarious." Nagachika Hideyoshi complained. "What's wrong with that? Maybe the other person also likes the atmosphere of a bookstore. I think bookstores are great." Kaneki Ken couldn't help but express his own opinion. "You are such a nerd. I'm sure that girls will never like to go to a bookstore on a date. So reject it." Nagachika Hideyoshi immediately rejected Kaneki Ken's arrangement. Then take her to the park first, then go to McKinsey to eat hamburgers. Finally, go shopping in the mall. Kaneki Ken continued. Hearing Kaneki Ken's answer, Nagachika Hideyoshi laughed again, which made Kaneki Ken completely lose his idea, and then complained, "Ei, stop laughing. I'm serious." Hearing that Kaneki Ken might be a little angry, Nagachika Hideyoshi immediately stopped his laughter and said, "Going to such a place, such a date is doomed to fail. This is not okay, that is not okay, so what do you think we should do?" Kaneki Ken directly gave up arranging the itinerary of this date, and then placed all his hopes on Nagachika Hideyoshi, intending to let him arrange the itinerary for the date. "Kaneki, listen carefully, when dating a girl, you have to choose a place that the girl likes to go." Nagachika Hideyoshi began to instruct Kaneki Ken like an old driver. Chapter 845 Kamishiro Rise. While Kaneki Ken and Nagachika were talking, Kirishima Tauka brought over the coffee they ordered. "Please enjoy your meal, both of you." Kirishima Tauka was not interested in the topic of dating that Kaneki Ken and Nagachika were talking about, so after delivering the coffee, she turned around and left without staying for too long. "Tauka-chan, can you leave me your contact information?" Nagachika took this opportunity to call Kirishima Taoka, and then directly asked for her contact information. With such an obvious hint, Kirishima Taoka could naturally guess what Nagachika meant, so she rejected him and said, "Sorry, I have a boyfriend." This was just one of Kirishima Taoka's reasons. In fact, Kirishima Taoka did not have a boyfriend. This answer naturally disappointed Nagachika, but Nagachika already knew that Kirishima Taoka's meaning was also very clear, so he could only give up and said, "Sorry, excuse me, it's okay." Kirishima Taoka didn't care about this, but left with a smile. At this time, Bai Yu, who had just come down from the second floor after using the toilet, soon ran into a female customer coming in from the store door. The girl in a dress was very young, about the same age as Kirishima Taoka, with purple hair and a pair of glasses. She looked very beautiful and feminine, especially her breasts were much better developed than Kirishima Taoka. Kamio rise. When Bai Yu saw this woman, he couldn't help but call out her name in his heart. It can be said that Kaneki Ken was transplanted with her Kakuga because of his encounter with her and finally changed from a human to a gal. The system did not respond at all. Obviously, he did not have any tasks related to Kamishiro Rise to do. However, in reality, Bai Yu did not call out Kamishiro Rise's name. If he did, it would probably attract the other party's attention. Kamishiro Rise soon noticed Bai Yu standing not far from her, facing a strange face. Kamishiro Rise turned her head to Bai Yu curiously and then asked, "Are you a new employee of the coffee shop?" Hearing this, Bai Yu came back to her senses and immediately said to Kamishiro Rise with the attitude of a waiter, "Yes, welcome to the antique coffee shop. Please come in." After that, Bai Yu made a gesture of invitation. Kamishiro Rise did not talk too much with Bai Yu, so she continued to walk into the store, but Kamishiro Rise had already seen that Bai Yu was also a gal. Bai Yu took out the sticky note and pen in her chest pocket at this time, and then followed Kamishiro Rise. On the other side, when Kaneki Ken saw Kamishiro Rise coming, his eyes were fixed on her. In an instant, Kaneki Ken's world was left with only Kamishiro Rise, and Kaneki Ken even had the urge to get up and rush up. The other male customers in the store were also staring at Kamishiro Rise. When Nagachika Hideyoshi saw Kaneki Ken's reaction, he immediately turned around and looked behind him. After seeing Kamishiro Rise's appearance, Nagachika Hideyoshi quickly turned his head back and did not stay on Kamishiro Rise for too long. The expression on Nagachika Hideyoshi's face was not very enthusiastic, but extremely cold. It was not because Kamishiro Rise was not good looking, but because Nagachika Hideyoshi felt that a girl like Kamishiro Rise was too unrealistic. Give up. Kaneki, you and she are from two different worlds. Nagachika Hideyoshi shook his head, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and looked like he was not optimistic about Kaneki Ken and Kamishiro Rise. Chapter 846 Emotional Out of Control. Kaneki Ken ignored Nagachika's words, and his attention was always on Kamishiro Rise's face. Seeing that Kaneki Ken was already unable to extricate himself, Nagachika Hideo also knew that Kaneki Ken would not listen to his advice now, and he might give up, only if he hit a wall. So, Nagachika Hideo quickly swallowed his cappuccino, and then took out the money in his pocket, and pressed it under the coffee cup. "I'm leaving first. Kaneki." Nagachika Hideo didn't mean to stay here as a light bulb, so he wanted to leave. "Wait, Kaneki Ken saw that Nagachika Hideo was going to leave him alone, and he suddenly became a little panicked. "Seize the opportunity. Anyway, I know you will definitely fall in love." Nagachika Hideo still didn't stop, and before pulling the door to leave, he turned around and said to Kaneki Ken. After that, Nagachika Hideo opened the door and left the antique coffee shop. Kaneki Ken didn't mean to leave at this time, because Kaneki Ken came to the coffee shop just to meet Kamishiro Rise. On the other side, Kamishiro Rise sat down in an empty seat beside Kaneki Ken, and Bai Yu stood in front of Kamishiro Rise, preparing to order food for her. But before Bai Yu could speak, Kirishima Taoka suddenly pulled Bai Yu to the stairs at the bar. "What? I still have to take orders for customers." Bai Yu couldn't help but ask in a strange way, after being pulled away by Kirishima Taoka. "Leave that customer to me. You just stand here." Kirishima Taoka replied. Why? Bai Yu asked in confusion. Bai Yu's questioning made Kirishima Tauka give him a look and then whispered, "Shut up. Why so many whys?" Seeing Kirishima Tauka's firm attitude, Bai Yu had no choice but to say nothing more. Kirishima Tauka saw that Bai Yu was still obedient and she felt a little proud in her heart, and then Kirishima Tauka took over Bai Yu's order for Kamishiro rice. "Excuse me, what would you like to drink?" Kirishima Tauka returned to Kamishiro rice and asked Kamishiro rice, "Why did you take the new handsome waiter away?" Kamishiro rice did not start ordering, but asked Kirishima Tauka about an unrelated topic. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka was also stumped by Kamishiro rice's question, and she was a little panicked in her heart. Well, he just came, and many things are unclear. Kirishima Tauka found an excuse to evade Kamishiro rice. Kamishiro rice naturally did not believe Kirishima Tauka's words, but spoke her own speculation. "Why do I feel that you are afraid that he will get entangled with me, or I will get entangled with him? You act like you are afraid that your boyfriend will have any contact with beautiful girls." Kamishiro rice's words made Kirishima Tauka completely confused. "Why don't you talk? Did I say it right?" Kamishiro rice's expression gradually became playful. "He and I are not boyfriend and girlfriend." Kirishima Tauka firmly denied. "Then you like him. The more you like someone, the more you will care about that person." Kamishiro rice said again. Kirishima Tauka's out of control emotions immediately attracted the attention of Bai Yu, Yoshimura Kaozen, Iramizuan, and Furuma Yuina. Everyone looked over. Bai Yu, "Go call Tauka back." Zuan, "Go apologize to the customer." Yoshimura Kaozen immediately intervened. "Yes, manager." Bai Yu and Iramizuan responded. Chapter 847 Kaneki Ken falls into the trap. Bai Yu came in front of Kirishima Tauka, and without saying anything, he directly pulled Kirishima Tauka away from Kamishiro rice. Iramizuan said to Kamishiro rice with an awkward smile, "I'm sorry. Our clerk may have her period today, so she is a little excited. What would you like to drink?" "It's okay. We are all the same kind of people. I can understand. A cup of mocha coffee, thank you." Kamishiro rice didn't care about Kirishima Tauka's emotional outburst just now, but ordered a cup of mocha coffee for herself. "Okay, please wait. This cup of mocha coffee is my store's apology. I hope what happened just now didn't affect your mood." Iramizuan gave this cup of mocha coffee as an apology for Kamishiro rice to drink. After that, Iramizuan was retreated. Kaneki Ken has been paying attention to the situation on Kamishiro rice's side. Kaneki Ken also heard the conversation just now very clearly, so after Bai Yu pulled Kirishima Tauka away, Kaneki Ken couldn't help but look at Bai Yu and Kirishima Tauka, and felt sorry for Nagachika in his heart. However, what Kaneki Ken didn't understand was that Kirishima Tauka had said in front of Nagachika Hideyoshi that she had a boyfriend, but why did she strongly deny her relationship with Shiraha in front of Kamishiro rice? Exclamation mark. If Shiraha was not Kirishima Tauka's boyfriend, Kaneki Ken felt that Kirishima Tauka could just give a simple explanation, so why did she lose control of her emotions? And since Shiraha was not Kirishima Tauka's boyfriend, Kirishima Tauka wouldn't have stopped Shiraha from contacting girls. If there was no reason to do this, it would be too overbearing. Soon, Kaneki Ken no longer paid attention to Shiraha and Kirishima Tauka, but turned his attention back to Kamishiro rice. In an instant, Kaneki Ken's expression suddenly became surprised. Because Kamishiro rice was reading a book called The Egg of the Black Goat at this time, which was also a book that Kaneki Ken liked very much, and was also a book he was reading now. The girl he likes has the same hobbies as himself. This is an irresistible blow to Kaneki Ken, who still has a longing for beautiful love. It makes Kaneki Ken have infinite longing and fantasy. Kamishiro rice soon noticed that Kaneki Ken was looking at her, so she looked up at Kaneki Ken. Seeing this, Kaneki Ken blushed shyly and then dodged Kamishiro rice's sight, not daring to look at her. But the desire in his heart made Kaneki Ken want to see Kamishiro rice's beautiful face, so Kaneki Ken could only secretly turn his eyes away. But Kamishiro rice has been looking at Kaneki Ken, so she can see Kaneki Ken's shy and cute performance completely. So when Kaneki Ken stole a glance at her, Kamishiro Rise showed Kaneki-ken a very cute smile and then shook the book in her hand towards Kaneki-ken, as if to hint to Kaneki-ken, I also know that you are reading the same book as me. This small action of Kamishiro Rise can be said to have made Kaneki-ken fall completely, and also made Kaneki-ken feel that he had a good chance of being with Kamishiro Rise. All of a sudden, Kaneki-ken was like a chicken blood, and then he picked up his coffee, took his own black goat's egg, took the initiative to come to Kamishiro Rise, and then shyly asked, "Then can I sit here?" "Sit?" Kamishiro Rise did not refuse Kaneki-ken's request, and allowed Kaneki-ken's behavior. After that, Kaneki-ken and Kamishiro Rise gradually chatted. Seeing that Kamishiro Rise did not seem to reject him, Kaneki-ken gradually let go, and at the same time he felt that he had a good chance of becoming a boyfriend and girlfriend with Kamishiro Rise. Chapter 848 The Danger Hidden Under Beauty. After Bai Yu pulled Kirishima Tauka back to the bar, Kirishima Tauka shook off Bai Yu's hand and said lightly, "Don't touch me." Bai Yu did not intend to talk to Kirishima Tauka, but looked in the direction of Kamishiro Rise. When Kirishima Tauka saw Bai Yu looking at Kamishiro Rise, she stepped on Bai Yu hard. "Still looking, your saliva is flowing out." Kirishima Tauka scolded in a low voice. Bai Yu could only retract his gaze, but he did not fall into Kirishima Tauka's trap and wipe his saliva. Instead, he whispered to Kirishima Tauka, "Is that girl the same as us? I can feel that her aura is different from others." The reason why Bai Yu asked Kirishima Tauka this was actually to let Kirishima Tauka know that she did not go to see Kamishiro Rise because she was pretty, but because she thought she was a gal. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka also thought so, but she still felt that Bai Yu was interested in Kamishiro Rise, so she angrily said, "So what? You're thinking about me so much, you really want to be with me? Tauka-chan, pay attention, it's working hours now." Yoshimura Kouzen couldn't help but remind Kirishima Tauka, and seeing that Kirishima Tauka had nothing else in her mind except that she would think about women, Bai Yu no longer paid attention to Kamishiro Rise. After returning, Iramizuan looked at Kirishima Tauka and Bai Yu, and then said to Yoshimura Kouzen, "Manager, a cup of mocha coffee." "Got it." Yoshimura Kouzen immediately responded. After that, Kaneki-ken and Kamishiro Rise talked happily in the antique coffee shop for an afternoon, until it was close to dusk, and the two left the antique coffee shop. However, before they separated, Kaneki-ken and Kamishiro Rise agreed on the time and place for the next meeting. Although Kaneki-ken had not yet confessed his feelings, Kaneki-ken had already regarded the next scheduled meeting as a date between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Bai Yu was in the store, watching Kaneki-ken and Kamishiro Rise leaving through the glass, and couldn't help but worry about Kaneki-ken, because the next time Kaneki-ken meets Kamishiro Rise, Kaneki-ken's life will completely change. Bai Yu, who already knew the general development of things, was able to stop and change Kaneki-ken's fate at this time, allowing him to escape this disaster. However, after thinking and hesitating for a long time, Bai Yu finally chose to give up intervening in this matter. Because the system did not issue any tasks, Bai Yu did not know what consequences would be caused by forcibly changing Kaneki-ken's fate. For safety reasons, Bai Yu finally chose to let Kaneki-ken accept the turning point in his life that he should experience. Kirishima Tauka saw Bai Yu staring outside in a daze, and couldn't help but step on Bai Yu again, and then said, "Are you still obsessed with Kamishiro Rise? Pervert. That child named Kaneki-ken will probably be eaten by that girl named Kamishiro Rise. Don't you think that child is pitiful?" She was blinded by the beautiful coat and couldn't see the danger at all. Bai Yu was used to being stepped on by Kirishima Tauka, so he didn't care that Kirishima Tauka stepped on him, but spoke his inner voice to Kirishima Tauka. Hearing this, Kirishima Tauka was also stunned. She didn't expect Bai Yu to say these words. Chapter 849 Off Work. Seeing that Kirishima Tauka did not answer him, Bai Yu turned his gaze to Kirishima Tauka and said, "That's right, I almost forgot your identity. How could you feel pity for humans?" Judging from Bai Yu's words, Bai Yu has always regarded himself as a human. Even though his identity has been defined as a gal by the system, Bai Yu's original identity was a human after all. Therefore, after Bai Yu became a gal, his position is actually still biased towards the human side. You talk as if you and I are not the same kind. Kirishima Tauka couldn't help but complain about Bai Yu. Then Kirishima Tauka looked around the store again and found that there were no customers. She continued, Bai Yu, you are not a human. Why should you feel pity for me? Hearing this, Bai Yu did not explain too much, but said, there are many regular customers in the coffee shop. Since there are regular customers, it means that you, the manager, Sister Zayakson, and Mr. Furuma will not hurt humans casually and can get along with humans in a friendly manner. Therefore, gals should also be divided into good and bad. Just like there are good and bad people among humans. Today's news said that there were gals stealing corpses in a hospital in District 20. It should be related to you and your uncle. In order not to hurt innocent humans, they choose to eat dead humans. This is indeed a helpless choice for survival. That child is also a regular customer of the store. He will soon be eaten by a gal who regards humans as food. Don't you have any thoughts in your mind? Finally, Bai Yu asked a soul-searching question to Kirishima Tauka. After listening to Bai Yu's words, Kirishima Tauka did not expect that one day in the store, Bai Yu was not only concerned with work, but had been paying attention to various situations around him. This terrifying insight really shocked Kirishima Tauka. At this time, Yoshimura Kausen came over and said, Bai Yu, your insight is really amazing. Although we in the antique coffee shop will not actively harm humans, we will not interfere with the behavior of other gals. This is one of my rules for controlling District 20. The antique coffee shop only accepts gals who are willing to get along with humans in a friendly manner. After that, Yoshimura Kausen took out an envelope from his arms, handed it to Kirishima Tauka and said, Tauka-chan, take this money and take Bai Yu to buy his daily necessities and some clothes. Take him to get familiar with the surrounding environment. By the way, you can eat dinner outside. I won't cook dinner. I won't go out with this pervert. Kirishima Tauka refused. Hearing this, Bai Yu said, Manager, I can do it by myself. Bai Yu's words did not make Yoshimura Kausen hand the envelope to Bai Yu. Yoshimura Kausen still looked at Kirishima Tauka without saying a word. The air around them suddenly became quiet. Kirishima Tauka knew that it was impossible to refuse, so she took the envelope with the money and went to the second floor. When she reached the stairs, Kirishima Tauka suddenly stopped, turned around and said to Bai Yu, asshole, wait for me to change clothes. Well, go ahead. Bai Yu also smiled at Kirishima Tauka and responded. Then, Kirishima Tauka walked upstairs. Chapter 850 Matchmaking. After Kirishima Tauka went upstairs, Irumi Zuan, who was tidying up the bar, said to Bai Yu, are you and Tauka-chan boyfriend and girlfriend? When Kirishima Tauka, who was halfway up the stairs, heard what Irumi Zuan said, she also stopped and was very curious about how Bai Yu would answer. Hearing this, Bai Yu replied, no. When Kirishima Tauka, who was halfway up the stairs, heard Bai Yu's answer, she was not happy at all, but felt a little disappointed. Then do you like Tauka-chan? I saw that she stepped on your foot and you were not angry, and you were very humble to Tauka-chan. Irumi Zuan asked again. Irumi Zuan's question surprised Bai Yu a little. After thinking about it, Bai Yu said, I like her, just like everyone else. Tauka is the store's favorite, and everyone loves Tauka very much. Bai Yu, I'm talking about the love between men and women. Irumi Zuan still asked without giving up. Tauka and I don't have any relationship between men and women now. I'm 5 or 6 years older than her, and I have always treated her as a younger sister, so it is unlikely for me and her to be together. Bai Yu replied. It is unlikely, but it is possible. At this time, Guja Nyuan suddenly interrupted. Bai Yu did not answer anything else. Things like feelings are not one-on-one. Bai Yu, can't you see that Tauka likes you? Rujiangsuan asked again at this time. Who likes him? Kirishima Tauka, who was eavesdropping in the stairwell, clenched her fists and said secretly, impossible. I think Tauka hates me very much, and said that I'm a pervert. I should be a weirdo in her eyes. Bai Yu denied. It's true. I'm also a girl, and my inference is not wrong. Tauka has been abnormal since you came. She doesn't show you beautiful women. In our eyes, you are simply a henpecked husband. If a girl really hates someone, she will not pay attention to you at all, let alone such intimate behavior as stepping on the instep. Rujiangsan said her analysis at this time. I did that to prevent Bai Yu from doing anything bad to girls. What do you mean by henpecked? Kirishima Tauka clenched her fists even tighter, and she wanted to rush downstairs to argue and explain. But Bai Yu didn't think that stepping on the instep was an intimate act. After all, it would hurt, and Bai Yu was not a masochist. I don't think stepping on the instep is an intimate act. If Tauka thinks it is, then she should find a man with masochistic tendencies as her boyfriend. I don't have this hobby. Bai Yu immediately stated that he would not be with a sadist. No, Tauka-chan just doesn't know how to express herself, so she stepped on your feet to attract your attention. Rumizuan immediately explained for Kirishima Tauka. She didn't want Bai Yu to think that Kirishima Tauka was a girl with sadistic tendencies because of her words. This would undoubtedly ruin Tauka-chan's image. At this time, Yoshimura Kausen interrupted Rumizuan and said, Zuan-chan, that's enough. Let the young people make their own choices. We don't need to worry about it. Hearing this, Rumizuan did not try to match Bai Yu and Kirishima Tauka, but reminded Bai Yu in the end, brother Bai Yu, don't regret it after missing the other person. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.